Okay, cool. Up, I have to hit continue here, otherwise I don't get to go. All right, guys, this is exciting. I haven't got to do anything like this on a while. So it's good to be back with everybody at Steele. It's been quite a while for me. I taught there for about 7 years, but I've been retired for quite a while. I'm getting to be an old guy. And I came to join you tonight despite a great personal tragedy. Do you guys know what a personal tragedy is? It's when something terrible happens. Yesterday I went with my family to the beach, and while we were there, the Slitheree Dee came out of the sea and ate my little brother. But he didn't eat me. The Slitheree Dee came out of the sea. He ate my little sister. But he didn't eat me. The Slitheree Dee came out of the sea. He ate my daddy. He's a big guy. But he didn't need me. The Slitheree Dee came out of the sea. He ate my mommy. But he didn't eat me. The Slitheree Dee came out of the sea. He ate my whole family. But he didn't eat. What happened? He ate me. Terrible tragedy. You know, I taught second grade when I was at Steele. Second grade was my second favorite grade level to teach. I taught all of them at one time or another. Second grade was my second favorite. My first favorite was kindergarten. And I wanted to make sure I didn't forget kindergarten, so I've got a math lesson for all you kindergartners tonight. Are you ready? It's going to be tough. It might be logarithms or square roots or, well, you don't know. It's kindergarten math. It's tough stuff these days. So here we go. I want to see everybody. Show me 5. Show me 5. There were 5 in the bed, and the little one said, roll over. Move over! So they all rolled over. One fell out. Wah! Thump. Bunk bed. Top bunk. There were 4 in the bed and 1 on the floor. And the little one said, roll over. Move over! So they all rolled over and 1 fell out. There were 3 in the bed and 2 on the floor. And the little one said, roll over. Move over! So they all rolled over and 1 fell out. Wah! Thump! There were 2 in the bed and 3 on the floor. And the little one said, roll over. Move over! So they all rolled over and one fell out. Ah! Thunk. There was one in the bed and four on the floor. And the little one said, I got the whole bed to myself. 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 Good night. Did you get that math lesson? That was sums of 5. Yeah, I used to do that with my kindergartners. Yeah. You know, I thought a lot about stories to tell tonight, and I decided that I was thinking about telling my story in my book, but my book's in the library now, so you guys can read it if you want to. So I'm going to tell a story about the moon, because this is Goodnight Moon, right? So my story is an Indian legend, and it takes place a long time ago. The Autumn people say, "Hooke-hoo," long ago. Long ago, the Great Spirit looked out on the night and there was no light anywhere. Nothing to light the night. It was totally, totally dark. So he decided he'd better do something about that, and he created stars and he spread them across the sky. And the brightest star of all was the evening star, the first one to rise in the evening. They called her the Evening Lady. And at that time, in a cave on a mountain, there lived a giant whose name was Nassan. And Nassan saw the Evening Lady star. Oh, he fell in love, just like Valentine's Day. He fell in love with the Evening Lady star, and he wanted her to come be his wife and live with him. So he thought about it. He had to give her a wonderful present. And he went and looked everywhere. And soon he found a great, round, white, perfect shell from the sea, a seashell. And he presented it to her, and she thought it was so wonderful that she agreed to go with him. But there was a problem. Now, the cave where Nassan lived, well, that was well lit by the Evening Lady. Her star shone bright within the cave. But the night sky got very, very dark again. There were just the little stars up there. The Great Spirit said, "Oh, this will never do. I have to have the Evening Lady back in the sky." So he decided to send one of his messengers to tell Nassan to send her back into the sky. He went with the east wind. The east wind was gentle. The east wind was soft and calming. So the east wind went down through the valley and up towards the mountain, then, oh! He hit a barrier that wouldn't let him go through it. He went back and told the Great Spirit, I couldn't go. I couldn't get through. The Great Spirit said, "Oh, okay, well then, we're going to have to get tougher." So the Great Spirit went and he found the south wind. And he said, "You're going to have to go up there. You're going to have to be the one to tell Nassan to let the Evening Lady go back up into the sky so it's not so dark anymore." The south wind was a little bit tougher than the east wind. And he blew down through the valley. The grass shivered a little bit. He went up, started through the mountain. He went through that first barrier, and then, oh! He hit a second barrier that stopped him from going any further. He went back to the Great Spirit. He reported, I couldn't get through. So the Great Spirit said, well, we're going to have to go with the west wind then. The Great Spirit went to the west wind and he said, you're going to have to go up there and tell Nassan.
You should have it.
That evening spirit, that evening star lady, go back up into the sky. So the west wind, he went down through the valley and all the grass turned yellow and the trees began to shake. And the west wind went through the first barrier that Nassan had placed and the second one. And then, he hit a third barrier and stopped him dead. He couldn't get through. When he went back to the Great Spirit and reported what had happened, the Great Spirit said, now this is a problem. I'm going to have to go talk to the north wind. And I really didn't want to talk to the north wind. He's not easy to get along with. Well, there's nothing else I can do. So the Great Spirit, he went and found the north wind, and the north wind said, what do you want? The Great Spirit said, I need you to do something for me. North wind said, what, again? It was just a few thousand years ago you asked me to do something for you. Here you are again. Great Spirit said, I need to put the evening lady star back in the sky. Well, do it then. Just put her back up there. No, you don't understand. That's not how this works. I need a messenger to go to Nassan the Giant and tell him to release her, let her go back in the sky. I suppose that has to be me, huh? Yes, that's you. So the north wind, he said, fine, I'll do it. And he blew down through the valley, and all the grass turned brown, and all the trees lost their leaves, and frost appeared on everything. And the north wind went through the first barrier and the second barrier. He went through that third barrier. He was almost to the cave when, he was stopped by a fourth magic barrier that Nassan had placed around his cave. He said, this has never happened. He backed up. He took a run at it again and he couldn't get through. Now, the Great Spirit wondered, what can I do? And he thought about it for a little while, and then he got an idea. He went to the ants. You know the ants. They burrow down in the ground. He went to the ants and he said, I need you to do a favor for me. The ants said, we will. He told them exactly what to do. So the ants, they burrowed up under the ground, underneath that cave, until they were almost to the cave floor. When they got there, those two ants began to talk to one another. One of them said, say, did you see the deer on the next mountain? It was a white deer, completely white. Did you see it? And the second ant said, a white deer? No, I didn't see. Ants are not very good actors. They were doing their best, but no, I did not see it, said the second ant. But it didn't matter, because the evening lady star, she heard them. She said, a white deer, a perfectly white deer. I have always wanted a robe made from a white deer skin. Nassan said, okay, I'll go get it. And she said, no, it's too dangerous. You can't go out of the cave. You can't go through the magic barriers. It's too dangerous. Nassan said, don't worry. It's dark out there. I'll go at night. There's hardly any light. No one will see me. So that night, Nassan crept out of the cave. He went down the hill. He crossed the first barrier, the second barrier, the third barrier, and he only had one to go. He looked all around, but it was so dark, he couldn't see anything. So he put one foot across the barrier, and then he put the other foot, and he stepped out from the magic rings that he had placed around his cave. And as soon as he did, a great hand came down and grasped him, and it was the Great Spirit. And he said, "Nassan, you have disobeyed me." And Nassan said, "Oh, yeah? Well, I'll fight you for it." And they began to wrestle. The Great Spirit and Nassan began to wrestle across the ground. And they were so strong and they were so powerful. They pushed up hills. They pushed up mountains. They made whole new mountain ranges while they battled. And they battled and they battled and they battled. But finally, Nassan was defeated. The Great Spirit had defeated him. And he said, "Nassan, what am I to do with you? The evening lady must go back up into the sky." The evening lady star knew that that was true. So she came out of the cave and she went back up into the sky. But she went back farther than she had been before. She was not quite as bright as she had been before. But along the way, as she was leaving, she took that white shell that Nassan had given her and she spun it off into the night sky. That beautiful, perfect, white, round shell. And it slowly spun around in the night sky. And people could look up and they could see the white shell, the round, perfect face of that white shell. And sometimes it would turn on its axis and they would see just half of the shell. And sometimes it would turn so far around that they just saw a sliver of the shell, just the edge of it. And that shell that the evening lady star spun off into the sky, that's what we call the moon. And ever since that time, that shell has lit the earth at night for all the people. But maybe you wonder about Nassan. What happened to him? What did the Great Spirit do to punish Nassan? Well, that's a whole nother story. Maybe I'll tell it to you sometime. All right, guys. I have to tell you about a time when I was your age, and some friends of mine came to me and they said, "Hey, you know that old haunted house?" I said, "Yeah, what about it?" They said, "Well, if you spend the night in that old haunted house, we'll give you $5. $5. When I was your age, you know what $5 could buy? 100 candy bars. And I don't mean little ones. I don't mean snack size. I mean the big ones. 100 of them. 2 weeks worth at least. I said, "Wow." They said, "All you can have is a candle and a book to read, maybe a snack. That's all." I said, "Sure, I'm there. I'll do it. I'll stay in that haunted house. Don't worry about it. $5. Wow." So I went to that haunted house and I found myself a good seat and I set up my candle and I lit it and I opened my book. It was my favorite book, The Bobbsey Twins at the Seashore. I was reading that part where they find that really odd looking rock right on the shore of the beach there, you know. Remember that part? It's really bad. That's one of my favorite parts of the book. They find this odd rock just sitting there. And then I looked down and right there in front of me, right there, right in front of me, was a cute little fuzzy gray kitty. just the cutest little fuzzy gray kitty you ever saw. I said, hi, cute little fuzzy gray kitty. How are you? I reached down to pet it and it went, oh. Well, excuse me. See if I give you any of my snack. I got sardines and mustard and Ritz crackers. You're not getting any. I went back to reading my book. I hadn't read very far when I got a strange feeling, so I looked back down there again. And now, sitting there right in front of me, next to that cute little fuzzy gray kitty, there was a tiger-striped tomcat. He looked like he'd been in a fight. One ear was kind of chewed up. One eye was kind of swollen and pussy. That tiger-striped tomcat, he looked at me. And then he looked at the little gray kitty. He said, so what do you want to do with this guy? The little gray kitty, it said, we'll wait till the big one comes. The big one? Huh. What's this all about? I opened my book. I went back to reading, but I hadn't read very far. When I happened to look back down again, and now, sitting there in front of me, next to that tiger-striped tomcat, next to that cute little fuzzy gray kitty, was a bobcat. A bobcat. He was sitting there looking at me, and I'm looking at him. He had sharp claws, sharp teeth. Then he looked at the little gray kitty. He said, what do you want to do with this guy? The little gray kitty said, we'll just wait till the big one comes. I go, the big one? What's going on? My book. Go back to my book. I read my book. I happened to look down again and, now, sitting there in front of me, next to that bobcat, next to that tiger-striped tomcat, next to that cute little fuzzy gray kitty, was a mountain lion. A mountain lion sitting right there in front of me. He's looking at me. I'm looking at him. He's got big sharp claws, big sharp teeth. He looks at the little gray kitty. He said, what do you want to do with this guy? The little gray kitty says, we'll just wait till the big one comes. The big one? Oh, God. I went back to I should have asked for $10. I look at my book. I'm reading my book. Yeah, this is good. And I happen to look back down and now, sitting there in front of me, next to that mountain lion, next to that bobcat, next to that tiger-striped tomcat, next to that cute little fuzzy gray kitty, was a jaguar. A jaguar, 8 feet long, big sharp claws, big sharp teeth. He's looking at me. I'm looking at him. He looks at the little gray kitty. He says, what do you want to do with this guy? The little gray kitty says, we'll just wait till the big one comes. I go, the big one. I said, I looked at those cats. I looked at that. I looked at the jaguar. I looked at that mountain lion. I looked at that bobcat. I looked at that tiger-striped cat with the pussy eye and the torn up ear. And I looked at that cute little fuzzy gray kitty. And I said to them, the exact same thing I'm going to say to you right now. This has been fun, but I gotta go. Bye-bye. Thank you all for inviting me this evening. I had a great time. This is the funnest thing I do. You guys have a good time with your Goodnight Moon. Bye, Steel Stallions.